Hey everybody, it's Beth. Welcome to Infinite Garden. It's officially autumn where I live, and that means today I felt like embracing the season with a warm-toned makeup look. Warmer, smokier, a little bit more makeup-y looks, a little less of that, carefree summer look, and a little bit more of that intentional fall kind of put together polished look. The good people at Merit Beauty did send me one of their Bronze Balm sheer sculpting bronzers to review in exchange for my honest thoughts. So I've been wearing this particular product almost every day for the last week, and I definitely have some thoughts. I'm going to share some comparisons to other bronzers in my collection, and I'll talk a little bit about how this one applies. So stay tuned for that. If you're new to my channel, welcome. On this channel, we celebrate self-acceptance, authentic personal style, and sometimes the expansion of consciousness. So if that sounds good to you, I hope that you stay and subscribe. When Merit Beauty reached out to me to ask if I would be willing to accept some of their products in PR, I was very excited actually about this. I have recently purchased 2 of their signature lipsticks with my own money. I purchased the 2 colors Baby and L'avenue. I'm wearing L'avenue on my lips today. And I really like the formulas, and I like the general aesthetic of their line. I also had noted that their products are vegan and cruelty-free, and they're part of the Clean at Sephora group. So I was very interested in their product line in general, so I was pretty excited when they reached out to me. They sent me both the Bronze Balm and the volumizing brow pomade in the shade brown, and I use that in the video too later. So I am trying to be more deliberate with where I spend my money, which companies I give my money to, and although I'm not entirely, vegan or cruelty-free yet in terms of all of my purchases, I do respect any company that has as its mission trying to reduce harm to animals. As I said, they did send me their volumizing brow pomade, which I did use in this video, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in an upcoming video dedicated to brow products. If you've been struggling to find the right brow product to go with your silver hair, I hope that that video will be useful for you. I've been doing a ton of research on this subject matter because I did struggle for a while to find the right colors for me. So I already filmed myself applying this look. I was talking while I was applying the makeup, but I had trouble with the sound, so please give me grace on that front. Mercury is in retrograde, and we are rolling with the technical punches as we go here. Bronzer as a makeup category for me is very tricky, and that is due to my complexion and its undertones. My skin color is light to medium, depending on the season. Just light medium is usually the foundation range I go for, but I do have olive undertones. And this can make bronzers particularly challenging. To illustrate my point here, today in this video, I'm using the Rare Beauty foundation in the color 210N, which is neutral. This is a pretty good match. I went into Sephora and the sales associate used this little sensor that they place against your skin. It's supposed to read the color of your skin, and then it can match you with foundations. I used that method to match me with this foundation, and it's pretty close, but it's not perfect. This foundation is slightly dark for my skin, and it doesn't contain any olive undertones, so I end up mixing it with a green color corrector with quite a lot of white base, and I'll show some footage here of how I do this. I have found that mixing green color corrector, which is generally meant to reduce redness in the skin, but I also find that green color corrector is an excellent product to use to correct the match in foundations, because it can be pretty hard to find foundations that include an olive undertone, so I have to make it myself. I also in this video am using Glossier's Monochrome eyeshadow in the color Prairie, which is like a khaki green, sort of an army green. This is a color that for somebody, if you had maybe pink undertones, would be a nightmare color. It might make you look kind of sickly or ill, something like that. For me, the greens in these eyeshadow tones wind up harmonizing with my natural green undertones, and these colors become quite neutral on me and quite native. So I can wear these kinds of greenish, olivey, khaki color tones very easily. What this also means is that makeup products that have red in them, so blushes, lipsticks, and bronzers, they're on the opposite end of the color wheel from these green undertones, and that opposition on my face, a pink blush is opposite of the green tones of my skin, and it can make that pink blush appear very, very bright pink. Sometimes that's what I like, but sometimes it's not. And what that can also mean is that bronzers will very often appear very orange against my skin in a way that's not flattering. Someone with maybe warmer undertones that naturally harmonizes with more orange colors, when they apply bronzers, it may look as though they are sun-kissed and glowing. But for me, that same product will look like I have makeup sitting on top of my skin. It's just very obvious, and I don't get the benefit of that wonderful glowy look. Merit described this bronzer as not leaning orange, so I was very hopeful when I heard about this, and I thought maybe this will be neutral enough for me. When I first received this product and interacted with it for the first time earlier this week, I did notice that the product itself does appear neutral in the container. I could see that they had gone out of their way to make something that was more neutral than an orange bronzer. When I applied it to my skin on my wrist, I did see that it made the color appear more orange on my skin than it did in the tube, which didn't surprise me at all. By means of comparison here, I'll put a swatch of it right here. This is what this looks like on my skin right now. It's quite a nice shade level in terms of its depth for my skin. I think it's really nice. This is the second lightest color. This is the color Clay. That's what I chose. I'm going to compare it to another cream bronzer in my collection from Glossier. This is the shade Flare. I believe it's their lightest tone. Their product is less sheer than Merit's. It's more of a gel. It's more opaque. It's quite similar in tone, but to my eye, it reads as a little more pink, and the Merit bronzer reads a little more orange, but they are quite similar. In terms of formula, the Merit product is more sheer, more blendable, and it's slightly more balmy. It is a sheer balm. I think the way they name the product is very true to reality. The Glossier product is a little bit more of a gel-based product, but it can also be sheared out. Once sheared out, I find them to be quite close to one another. The formulas are very different, however. The other bronzers I have in my collection are from Fenty. I have Into Sun and Shady Biz. Into Sun is their lightest bronzer shade, but it is quite neutral, and Shady Biz is a little darker and much more orange. I also have right here Benefit's Hoola. You can see I've hit pan on Benefit's Hoola. This is a good bronzer for me in terms of a color comparison. I also have right here a mini of NARS's Laguna. This one winds up being a little more orange on me. I have from Westman Atelier. I have the Westman Atelier bronzer in the color Coup de Soleil, which is pretty light. So in terms of the powder bronzers, you can see here, this is the Westman Atelier powder bronzer. I think this one winds up being quite a bit more pink. So this is the Westman Atelier, the Glossier, and this is the Merit Beauty. I do think in this swatch here, I think the Merit Beauty does appear to be somewhat more orange than the Westman Atelier in Coup de Soleil. This right here is Benefit's Hoola. As I've said, this is a color for me that I find to be neutral enough to wear. This one doesn't pull too orange on my skin. I don't know if you can see here. It's in the same value range. It's not much darker or deeper than the Merit in Clay, but I do think it does seem, to my eye, slightly more neutral. That's Hoola. You might not be able to see Into Sun. This is the lightest shade that Fenty offers in a bronzer. It's very neutral. As it compares to the Merit, it's quite a bit lighter and I think noticeably less orange. Their color Shady Biz, which is another shade darker, I think is maybe the closest tonal match to Merit's Clay. I'm gonna put some right up here just so you can see. This is Fenty in Shady Biz and this is Merit in Clay. I think the colors are very similar and of course the formulas are very different. Here we have a matte powder bronzer and here we have a balm bronzer in about the same color. So these are most of the bronzers in my collection. I'll throw in Laguna here. This is Laguna here, which I think is less orange than Shady Biz. So although I do think that Merit did make a bronzer that is not overtly orange. I think compared to other bronzers in my collection, it is slightly more orange than some of the ones that I have. I think a lot of people will find this to be a wearable shade though. But if you have olive undertones like I do, maybe you want to try to swatch this one in the store just to make sure. Okay, I'm going to wash off my arm and I'll be right back. The package Merit sent to me in the mail included a really cute corduroy pouch that folds at the top. In the pouch, they also included this diagram showing where to place the bronzing balm. I thought this was very interesting. This is generally how I like to apply my bronzer. I know some people will use it as a contour, but for me, because like I said, the color is often slightly more obvious and apparent, I find that bronzer usually doesn't work for me as a contour, and I do have better luck applying it in this way. So I got the product on Monday and I used it for the first time on Tuesday, and I wore it every single day this week. So it's been about 5 days in a row that I've worn this. Most of the times I have applied it like this, but I tried a couple different ways throughout the week. So I'll include some selfies that I took throughout the week of me wearing this particular product. Some days I added a little blush on top and some days I went without. Right now I'm not wearing any additional blush on top of the bronzer, only some powder to take down a little bit of the shine. For me personally, I found the best way to apply this was with a brush. So I actually used a brush to pick up product directly from the tube, from the component, and then I used that brush to apply the product to my face. I did not find that swiping it on my face was the way to go. I really liked this method better, and I do find that the product is somewhat buildable. It is sheer, it is extremely blendable. It blends out like an absolute dream, and you can build up the product, although I would say this is a pretty sheer formula and the overall effect is very natural. Immediately after applying, the product is slightly tacky, but I did not find at any point that, like, if the wind blew, that my hair got stuck in the product. That said, I did set this product with powder every day that I wore it. I was using the Cloud Set powder by Kosas in the color Feathery, which I've really enjoyed. So I used that powder right on top of this to set it. I did find that the product had excellent lasting power throughout the day. To finish my look today, I used one of the Merit lipsticks, again, that I purchased with my own money. I used L'Avenue, which is a very deep autumnal color, kind of a spiced wine shade. The lipsticks are very sheer, and a single sheer layer is quite attractive. You can also build up the lipstick shade by adding another layer. I do find that the experience of this lipstick, its texture, its sheerness, the quality of its color is very comparable to the bronzer as well. It has a similar sheer buildable balm formula, so I kind of liked the consistency from product to product in terms of how it looks, feels, and performs. Overall, I really like this look. As a person with olive undertones and dark hazel eyes, the makeup trends that go along with autumn are usually pretty flattering to me, so I'm often very happy to jump into the autumn looks. Overall, I really like this Merit bronzing balm. I do expect to get quite a lot of use out of it. Because of what I talked about earlier with my complexion and bronzers, I'm not somebody who uses a bronzer every single day, and I don't always use bronzer and blush together. I would say most days I don't use bronzer and instead opt for blush. But on the days when I do want to wear, you know, like a warmer eye look like this and maybe a deeper lip, sometimes having pink on my cheeks with a deeper lip looks to be a little bit too much, a little too much drama. So I find that a bronzer with a lip like this is much more wearable and verging on more natural looking for me. So I do think I'm gonna get quite a lot of use out of this bronzing balm. So what do you guys think? Do you like bronzer? Do any of you experience the same struggles that I do with bronzers sometimes coming off as too orange? Have you tried any of these balm products? What about other products from Merit? You know how much I love to hear from you. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well out there, and I hope you have a great week ahead. Thank you so much for watching. Talk soon.